Hey Kingdom Hearts fans, my name is Unlike Mike, but if you'd like, you can just call me Mike. And today I'm excited to bring you 10 of my unique and original Kingdom Hearts series. Now, if you find any of this entertaining, I invite you to subscribe to the channel and like the video as it helps this channel get pushed through the algorithm. Hopefully, some of these might end up blowing your mind, but at the end of this, you might also have to ask yourself, was this guy dropped on his head? And the answer would be yes, quite a lot actually. But where there's lost brain cells, there's creativity found, right? All that nonsense aside, let's dive into these theories. Theory number one, the Hundred Acre Woods is from Quadratum. Now, I've always felt from the first game that Winnie the Pooh, the Hundred Acre Woods, was very special. And it's mainly because we never see darkness, heartless, or any sort of enemy in this world. And at first, I used to think that, oh, it's because it's a book, right? So kind of like Data, it would be its closive, I guess, like comparison. And maybe just Heartless can't infect that, worlds like that, like Data and books. But with Kingdom Hearts 2, we see they're in Space Paranoids. And then recoded, we have Jiminy's Journal. And now we even have Wreck-It Ralph's Grand Central Station. So clearly that's not the case. And all of those examples are showing us that darkness and heartlesses, they know no boundaries. And we even have this slightly, we even have this confirmed by the Master of Masters and with his conversation with the darkness in this scene, right? The darkness can spread to every corner. That's what this whole conversation is about. So he confirms that the darkness really is limitless in the way that it can infect, right? Except when it comes to a place that he couldn't even conceive, right? This unreality idea that he has. That's the one time where light and darkness play no role. And I'm going to circle back to this. There's two things I want to remind you of before anything else. Is one, we have the origin of the book, and that was in Birth by Sleep. Terra runs into Merlin and sees the book on the ground. And then Terra tries to give the book back to Merlin, but Merlin tells him that the book isn't actually his and he doesn't know where it came from. But the book does have extraordinary power and it can awaken some inner strength from you. Now, right off the bat, we have, three mysteries with the book off the jump. It can awaken certain abilities in you or something, or it's just like a book that makes you stronger for whatever reason. We don't know where it came from, and we don't know whose the book is. Now, we do see, just kind of going off on a little tangent right here, real quick. We do see before the scene happens, Terra does run into Xehanort in Hollow Bastion, so Xehanort might play a role in this. I don't think he's necessary to this theory, but it was just something that I thought I'd quickly kind of point out before continuing on, but I will talk about Xehanort a little bit more towards the end of this theory. For now, just keep him in the back of your head. He may play a role into this, but like I said, I don't think he's completely necessary for this theory. Now, the other thing I wanted to bring to your attention is that we literally see the Heartless have their hands on this world. And all that really happens is that, this is in Kingdom Hearts 2, if I should have addressed that first, but all that really happens is that the Heartlesses end up tearing a bunch of pages and then spreading them through different worlds, and we have to find the pages again. But when you visit the Hundred Acre Woods in Kingdom Hearts 2, even after this, we still see that there's no Heartlesses. It's still unaffected by any sort of darkness, and that just kind of like blows my mind and makes me question, they had it in their hands and they should be able to infect no matter what it is, but they still don't. So this is where I'm getting the idea that maybe this book comes from Quadratum, right? Because we do know with Quadratum that light and darkness hold no form or have no power in Quadratum, in unreality. So I think that if a world that came from unreality ended up in Sora's reality, I'll call it, then it would still have the same rules. It would still abide by like the same laws, right? So like Newton's laws for that particular realm. It would the rules would still apply to it. I don't think that light and darkness could play roles in that world. Maybe I could try to simplify it in like some Kingdom Hearts terms and make it a little bit more basic, because I think maybe it's starting to get a little bit confusing here. But so darkness doesn't have power in Quadratum, right? Because Quadratum is fiction. Now, if the 100 Acre Woods, this book, came from Quadratum, therefore this book is also fiction. So it applies the same rules as Quadratum. That's why we see no Heartless in it. So what does this mean going forward if this is true? What if the original owner of the book was, drumroll, Christopher Robin, right? Probably, obviously. That obviously would make the most sense that Christopher Robin's the original owner of the book. But what if it's Christopher Robin who's from Quadratum? So I'm thinking not young Christopher Robin, but maybe more like a live action older Christopher Robin, right? One that's grown up but lives in Quadratum, or at least where the realm of Quadratum lies. So we know that because the Master says it, and I believe Yensid also ends up saying this as well, that if you believe in something hard enough, you can make it a reality. So what if this book was turned into a reality because Christopher Robin, as a kid, when you're a kid, you have all this childlike wonder and this amazing imagination and innocence. Christopher Robin's the one who made the 100 Acre Woods real, and that's why it became a world. Like it's a world because Christopher Robin believed so much in Winnie the Pooh and Piglet, Tigger, etc. But as he gets older, we lose our childlike wonder and imagination. It's very sad. Maybe that killed, in a sense, or destroyed the 100 Acre Woods world, and that's why it ends up in Sora's realm. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys. Hopefully I haven't lost you just yet. But yeah, so maybe in Kingdom Hearts 4, we spend time with older Christopher Robin and helping him, reclaim some of his childlike wonder. I think that would be a cool story, and like I don't know, it would just be like a nice story. It makes sense to the story of, older Christopher Robin, and it's got a beautiful message inside of it as well. If that's the case, like if they wanted to go that sort of route, which is definitely possible, because the series in general, we do know that there are two worlds that always make it into every single game. The first one being Olympus, always has some sort of representation, and Winnie the Pooh's the other one. And we know from the Kingdom Hearts 4 trailer, because we see Hades, or like we get the outline for Hades, so we can confirm that Hercules, the IP of Hercules, will have some sort of representation in Kingdom Hearts 4. And I think we will definitely have Winnie the Pooh as well. And I think just doing maybe like Christopher Robin is our representation for Winnie the Pooh this time around. I think that would be freaking awesome. But let's say that, I am correct, that maybe they will do something like this. It would make sense to why Pooh is always so stressed out about like Sora forgetting him, because maybe this is something that already happened to Pooh. You know what I mean? So he's always stressed about Sora kind of forgetting him. That was like, like Kingdom Hearts 2's theme, where he forgot about Sora. Maybe has these feelings because it happened with Christopher Robin already to him, right? And it's still a mystery, this whole scene where Pooh is telling Sora that he used to be inside of his heart and that he no longer really feels him there. And, Sora reassures him that no matter what, that they'll always be connected to each other. As long as they're thinking about each other, that they'll always be with each other forever. but Sora even acknowledges that their connection is like way weaker in Kingdom Hearts 3. And this is still a mystery to us, right? We never gotten exact answers to what went on with this and why their connection is slipping. Um, so that just adds another layer to the mystery of the 100 Acre Woods. And I think that's sort of proof that there is more going on with this world than we think. Even Goofy and Donald allude to, Sora disappearing from that world as well, and questioning what is going on. Sora turns to Merlin and says that he doesn't want to lose any of his friends, right? And with Merlin's wisdom, he tells him that, whatever's lost can be found again, and that there's always pathways between hearts to discover and traverse, right? So I think this is going to be the theme for Christopher Robin's and Sora's story in Kingdom Hearts 4. Sora's going to maybe take this advice that Merlin gives him and use that to help a much older Christopher Robin. I even placed this here just to show that the scene is called What's Lost Can Be Found. So that's just the theory that's just the theme that I think will happen going forward with the 100 Acre Woods for the next major game, at least. So finally, it's pretty much it for that theory so far. I said I'd kind of talk about Xehanort again and what his role might be in this. I think that if he played a role into this, that maybe it was also has something to do with the Master of Masters as well. Because I was thinking, what if the Master of Masters was the one who ended up originally finding the book, right? And he would be smart enough and know and recognize that, like, dang, this world is untouched by both light and darkness. They hold no form, they hold no power there. So that might have what sparked the idea of a place that exists where he couldn't even conceive, this place of unreality. And maybe it's possible that the Master of Masters passed it down to Xehanort, who was going through his world tour era. And maybe Xehanort came to a similar conclusion of this. There's no influence of light or darkness in this world. And he came to the same conclusion of a world or a realm existing that this book comes from, a place that doesn't exist in their reality. Even because at the end of the day, Xehanort somehow knows about Quadratum or unreality, as we seen in Melody of Memories. And then maybe Xehanort could have just dropped it on the floor for Terra and Merlin to find next. But that's it for the first one. Am I cooked already, or am I off to a good start? Like, let me know. Theory number 2, Sora is a foster child. Yup, I'm saying that this isn't Sora's mother. I think this could be somebody's mom, but for now, we'll talk about that later. But for now, let's just focus on this isn't Sora's mom. So this theory stems from the first conversation that Sora has with Ventus. I always mess up their names. But don't get this confused with the end of Birth by Sleep, Ven's story, where Ven's heart, connects to Sora's baby Sora or toddler Sora, that allows him into his heart. That's not their first interaction with each other. Their first interaction with each other is in the beginning of the game during the Ven's dive to heart. So there's Sora's newborn heart that is connecting and talking to Ven in the very beginning. This is the scene I'm referring to. This was their actual first real interaction with each other. I'm gonna actually hide myself for a moment here as well. Nomura has talked about this before, right? So it says, this is in the Birth by Sleep ultimatum, and it says, considering the conversation between Sora and Ven in the ending of the last episode, is this saying that the just born heart that Ventus connects with in the opening is Sora's? And Nomura answers with yes, that it is, but there's some issues with overseas opinions, so about like the heart not existing until birth and whatever. So like he's changed the way that he portrayed it or whatever. And the important thing is that this scene isn't fleshed out, so there's still some questions revolving around this scene, and that's important because I think perhaps we can adapt to that particular scene that we had just seen. So moving on from this, it makes me question then that whole beginning. How is a newborn or unborn, whatever you want to call it, Sora's heart, talking to Ven and connecting with him without a body, right? Do we have examples maybe of someone's heart existing without their body, right? And we actually do. We have a lot of examples of this happening. We have like old Xehanort, the brown robe Xehanort. There's also, as you can see where I'm probably going with this, Ephemer, Skuld, you got the rest, the Lorium, Marluxia, Ven, and even Maleficent. And they all share this one thing in common. It's time travel, right? So your heart can exist without, we know through time travel that your heart does exist without a body. So I think that the heart that was talking to Ven in the beginning is a time traveling Sora. It makes sense to me. This is the only example that we have of hearts existing without bodies, and we don't have to retcon anything or change anything. Like it's kind of perfect. We already have a reason for this. Now the question is, when did Sora time travel? I think Sora's the true dandelion that Luxu puts in this pot. It would make sense as to why Sora, exists, why his heart existed without a body, because he time traveled. Also, I think, Sora's our main character, so him being the true dandelion would still make sense, and it would still be a surprise to us. I don't think it would be like a cop out or anything. I think it'd still be a surprise to us to know that Sora was from the past. Also, I think that would be kind of cool. And if Sora's the true dandelion, then that means that the woman in the beginning of Kingdom Hearts 1 was not his mother. And boom, that's it. We can move on from that cursed, infamous scene. All right, so maybe we can't move on from that scene just yet because, even if it was his foster mother, she would still be concerned on what the hell happened to her kid. You know what I mean? So maybe we can't just move past it yet. So maybe we can add value to her character and then we could move on from it. So what if for an example, what if we said that it was Riku's mother, right? And then that would have make Sora and Riku's connection even deeper, as they would be brothers in ways that, even if not by blood, they'd still be considered brothers. But the problem with that is, then Riku's mom is just the same boat. What the hell happened to my two kids now at this time? And I guess we could say that maybe like Ansem the Wise or Mickey or Yensid or somebody had spoken to this person and explained them, like what happened. And I don't know, just started explaining everything to her and she was just okay with it. But that's shit. So no. So in order for me to move on from Sora's mom and accept that the woman in the beginning's character she would need to be someone who is like aware of darkness, light, the Keyblades, just the general rules of the Kingdom Hearts universe, right? This is somebody who would have to have like knowledge, I think, and be able to understand like, what would have happened with Sora or Riku and what would have happened on Destiny Islands. And then I think I could finally accept this person's existence, or just in general, we all could accept this person's existence. And I actually think that I have the perfect candidate for who would fit that the best. I think that this woman who tells Sora that dinner's ready could be Xehanort's mom, right? That would be freaking, I think, dope as hell. And if you think about it, she does fit all like the qualities of, she knows, you know, what Keyblades are. She knows what the Child of Destiny is. So she has all the general knowledge of the Kingdom Hearts universe that she would at least understand, you know, what is happening and whatnot. And we know, you know, what Xehanort's mom did. She gave up her son, who was Xehanort, and to live out his life in the Isles of Destiny, because they believed him to be the Child of Destiny. And I could totally see where, you know, she's sad about it. So who's to say she wouldn't, as a mother, you know, try to find her son again, go through maybe her own sort of time travel to end up going to the Isles of Destiny herself. But she could have overshot, you know what I mean? Like the time travel is iffy. So maybe she traveled too far forward, just slightly. And instead of finding her son, maybe she found a young time traveled Sora hailing at the Isles of Destiny. And maybe she could have put 2 and 2 together that, wait a minute, I think this is the Child of Destiny. And then just think about how cool, like, of a story that actually is. That would mean that, you know, our main antagonist, Xehanort, is somebody who longed to meet his mom and all these friends and people just from his memories that he has, or the dreams that, you know, aren't necessarily even his. But our main character, our main protagonist, Sora, is the one who actually lived that life. That would be, I think, a pretty cool layer to the dynamic of Xehanort and Sora. And I think they do kind of need something connecting to each other more. And I think this would be a brilliant way to do it. But who knows? This theory requires an extremely open mind to kind of get behind, I think. So I understand if you don't, but it could be a really interesting story for this series. It's definitely better than just Yensid or Diz just like explaining everything to that woman who is like Sora's mom, that, you know, he's gonna go off and he's a Keyblade master now and he has to save the world. Yada yada. That's dookie. No, I hope that's not it. But let me know what you guys think about this as well. Man, I totally forgot to kind of talk about this too. I don't know why I skipped over it. So I'm actually, I've actually just finished the video and I'm coming back to go do this part. So with Sora being from time traveling, right? The rules of time travel are, you need there's 2 things. You need somebody who has memories of you, and you need a medium, right? So as far as memories go, we do have some options, right? So if Sora is from the past, that means, I think, it almost qualifies anybody from the past knowing who Sora was back then, right? So even Ven could be considered possibly having some memory of Sora from the past. The major ones more so would be, the obvious one is Luke Shu would have the memories to bring back Sora, or the True Dandelion. So it doesn't even matter if it is Sora or if it's not Sora. The fact still remains that the True Dandelion needs somebody who has memories of them. So I think the obvious one is Luke Shu. I think the not so obvious one, but that is actually quite genius and might be a part of Luke Shu's plan, is Darkness would have memories of the True Dandelion, since Darkness is the one that gets to look, you know, Darkness sees Luke Shu putting the True Dandelion in the pod, and, you know, he's talking. So it makes sense that, like, so he could be thinking that if Darkness ends up, you know, carrying on into the future, that this is his way of guaranteeing that the True Dandelion can return, because it'll be all the Darkness's fault. So, you know, and that Darkness could even be Vanitas, right? So Vanitas could even be the one who would bring back the True Dandelion, whom I think is Sora, right? Xehanort could be one of the people, because Xehanort does have weird abilities to see into the past, like memories that aren't his. So Xehanort could have been one. And I think out of all, like, the Union Cross people, and I think Ven he's already got the big connection to Sora, so like why not? Let's keep it dragging on, right? He's a big contender of who could have the memories. So now, as far as the medium, right? What would his medium be? I think it's the cloak, right? That's all we see is we just see them wrapped in a white cloak. Oh, what is that? In the dive to Heart in Ven's story, in the beginning, what do we see him wrapped in? A white cloak. I think that could be the same white cloak that the true dandelion was wrapped in. So boom, right? If Ven has the memories of Sora, and let's say that's the same cloak that the true dandelion had, he's got both the medium and the memories, right? Or if Vanitas was a part of Ven, and if that darkness was Vanitas, then boom, that's another person who could have had the memories. All right. I don't know why I skipped over this because I thought that was like a pretty big part of this theory, but I'm glad I remembered at the end. So yeah, I think that cloak could be, because this is the only other time that we very few times that we see the white cloak. And like I said, I guess you won't hear this till later, but the cloaks have just clothes in general have special powers to them and abilities, right? And it's something you'll hear later on in this video. There's very few times that we see the white cloak, and it is just here, the true dandelion, and then Strelitzia in Union Cross we also see with the white cloak, which we know she's involved with Sora at the end of Kingdom Hearts 4, so something to keep in mind. But yeah, that's all I wanted to sneak in here before we move on to the next one. So moving on to theory number 3, isn't so much of a theory, but kind of like a soft prediction. I really don't know what to call it. But if Shion were to change her name, she could change her name to Ino. All right. So if you don't remember how organization members got their names, it was simply they would just have their real name scrambled and then put the X sigil in. And then for Shion's case, she isn't a real person. So her number in the organization is number I, for I is the algebra symbol for imaginary numbers. So it's NO is the abbreviation for number, and then I, and then they just flipped it around, added the X sigil, created Shion. So one thing that we, when she comes back, their goal was to reclaim that sigil because that's what connected her, Roxas, and Axel together. And they knew that after the defeat of Xemnas that they would end up losing the sigil. I don't know, a little confusing. Like, obviously, Kingdom Hearts is going to be confusing on what the scene really means. Like, I don't think it was necessary to explicitly say that they were going to lose this, and I don't know if they're going to do anything with the fact that they lost this or whatever. But I don't know. It just made me think, like, all right, so what if, because she has the biggest identity issue of every character in this series, apart from maybe like Riku Replica, what if she goes through some sort of identity storyline going forward and wants a new name? All right, she doesn't. All right, so I don't think that they're going to change her name. Let me just be straight up. But if they did, as long as they tell it right, I guess I wouldn't be mad. But they do just so happen to have the perfect name to go through a name change for her, and it's Ino. And so the reason why Ino is a good name for her is because in the Japanese translation, Ino means wild boar. All right. Obviously, that doesn't fit. Except it does once you think about its Greek meaning. Ino is a Greek sea goddess, which fits perfectly for the naming scheme of the women in this series, with Kyrie meaning like ocean and sea, and Naminé meaning the sound of waves, I think it's technically, and then aqua with just meaning water in Latin. So she has a name that would fit the female naming scheme, and then also still fit the rules of the organization names. I just thought that was really interesting, and thought that like, hey, if they decide to go a route like this with her character, that's just kind of the perfect name, and I couldn't see any other name that they would make sense to give her. Uh, Obviously, like I said, I don't think that she's gonna go through name change. That's why I was really unsure what to even call this like theory prediction. I guess if they did do a storyline like this with her, then there's kind of I just wanted to expose that that's kind of like the perfect name for her. And another, I don't think that that's going to happen. I think maybe I'll give it like 1% chance of happening, because then that would mean like, what about Roxas? Like Axel obviously is named Lee, but Roxas, Sora's already taken, so there's no way. And I think just people would lose their freaking mind in a really bad way if they changed Roxas's name. I don't think many people would be open minded to that. Although Roxas, this is just for fun. Roxas does have more options technically, right? Because he can anagram Sora's name, or he can anagram Ventus, or even Vanitas. I think he just has a lot of options. And Van, spelled with two A's, and Tamil Hindu means sky or freedom. So that would kind of fit the character. And if we change Sora's name around, we can get Eros, which is to rise in Greek. I don't know. I'm just kind of having fun with that. Like I said, I don't think Roxas is 0% chance of going through a name change, but I'll give Shion maybe like a 1% chance. Like I said, I don't know. Eno fits perfect. That's all I'm saying. I don't know what you guys think about that, but I don't know. I'm just saying. I told you some of these are going to be weird. But yeah, if they do a name change for her character, then from now on, you guys have to call me my prophet. That's all I'm saying, right? If this happens, because I don't even think this is going to happen, but if it did, y'all got to start calling me my prophet, and I won't answer to you guys otherwise. All right, theory number 4. Vanitas was in Quadratum. So, I've talked about this before on my channel, but I wanted to bring it up again because I am just a really small channel still. So a lot of you people probably watching this probably haven't seen this yet. But when I was doing research for my theory discussion and analysis video on Vanitas, I found something. And if Vanitas is a character that interests you, I definitely recommend checking out that video. But let's talk about this scene, right? Where Sully throws Vanitas into the doors, right? It was hilarious. It was a hysterical scene. This is definitely one of the best Kingdom Hearts scenes, I think. Definitely in the top 10 somewhere. This was awesome. But if you end up looking at each of the doors that he gets thrown through, right, we can kind of get a glimpse into each room. So I recommend you go and watch the scene back yourself. It happens very, very fast. And pay attention to the way that it's choreographed. And if you want a little bit more of an in-depth, analysis of the scene, I'd just recommend just hop on my channel and go look for the Vanitas and Quadratum video. It's like 3 minutes long, and I just talk about kind of like the choreography of the scene in terms of, for the first door he gets thrown through, we get a side profile of that first door, and so you can kind of see into the world. But you don't get to see much. But you do see a lot of snow. So my assumption is that first door he gets thrown through is Arendelle. Then the second door, it's shot from above, so you kind of get a sort of eagle eye vision. So you can't really see into the door. You see even less through that door. All you see is just the floor. It's like cobblestone. So the only things that I can think of were like maybe Arendelle, Hunchback from Notre Dame. What else uses? I guess Daybreak uses cobblestone, I think. But most likely like Tangled was my thought pattern on that. And then for this final door, you actually get the camera dead center of the screen. So you can see straight through. It's the only door you can see straight through. But it happens like in an eighth of a second. It's really actually hard to pause if you want to try and pause it yourself, because Mike, when he opens the door, he's kind of in the way a little bit. Then Sully is in front of the door, like within an eighth of a second, like I said. But if you manage to pause it, you'll see this. Maybe let me see if I can zoom in a little bit even more for you guys. But you can kind of already see that it's like this city, right, with skyscrapers and whatnot. And to me, that screams quadratum. And then we even have like Boo off to the side, deliberately looking away from the door. And I think that's supposed to kind of also trick our brains when we view this to not pay attention to the front of inside this door. Like I said, watch the video back on your own. The way it's filmed feels really deliberate, because some people on my channel believe that this could be San Fran, Tokyo, or I guess it could maybe also be the world that never was. Uh, I don't feel like that's San Francisco. There's just something, I don't know. I don't think it is, because like I said, judging by the way that the whole scene is choreographed, it doesn't feel like it's it felt like it was meant to only give us like a glimpse if you were sharp enough, right? But I guess it's up to you to judge on that, I guess. But for me personally, that's how I feel about it. And it's kind of cool if you think about it. If this really ends up being quadratum, that means that both Pixar worlds we had featured quadratum in some sort of way. So maybe in the future trailers of whatever new Pixar worlds we end up going into, like be on the lookout for maybe any signs or any little calls to quadratum, because there possibly might be a Pixar and quadratum type of connection somehow or whatever. So be on the watch for that. Do you think, and don't answer this until you watch the scene back yourself fully, do you think that this is A, quadratum, or B, San Francisco? I would love to know. I'd also like to address with this that a commenter before had asked me a very good question, like if this is quadratum, how would Vanitas get back, right, to normal Sora realm, Disney realm? And that's actually a great question. So technically he isn't in quadratum. He's in the first door. His body is in the first door. Then that door, we'll call the first door Arendelle, second door, we're just going to say Tangled, third door quadratum, right? So he gets thrown to Arendelle. Arendelle's door gets thrown into Tangled. Tangled's door, which is what Sully has right now, gets thrown into quadratum. Then this door, the quadratum door, gets destroyed. So there's no longer a link between this quadratum and Monster, like the quadratum door and Monsters Inc. That no longer exists. But what does exist is this door, right? So if he's in Arendelle, he could have, just teleport. He could take a dark corridor because he's already in the Disney realm, right? But I think it's possible he could have, he would have seen. I have to tell him. Let me think about it, because it's confusing. Obviously, it's freaking Kingdom Hearts is confusing, and here's the thing, right? I feel like Kingdom Hearts is complicated and convoluted. We can all agree with that. So the more convoluted your theory is, I feel like the more likely you actually have it being correct, because this game's just never that simple, right? So he gets thrown through the door and end up here in Arendelle. What he could have done is just walk up to that door that he got thrown through, open it up, but now this time he would be entangled, right? And Tangled would have its own door. So then he would continue, open up the Tangled door, and when he can't walked out, he would be in quadratum, right? Because this door is in quadratum. So there's still technically a way into door number 3, and it is through this door, wherever it is laying on the floor, right? But this door was specifically broken. So the door that would be there, right, that's in quadratum, that you would open it up, it would have normally had taken you back into Monsters Inc., but that door was broken. So when you open it up, it's probably just a normal closet. You know, there's no more access to it. It's like what they did in the actual movie. Uh, so it would just be like, if it's like a supply closet, it's a supply closet door, whatever it is. There's no more connection to the Monsters Inc. world now. So Vanitas could have just, you know, entered Quadratum that way and just simply walked back into Tangled, or like take the door backwards. And that's how he got back to the Disney realm. All right, so just open it back up and go into Tangled again. But I thought to myself, there's also no, right? They power this door because of this machine, which goes off of which is powered by a battery of either, first it was scream power, then it was laughter, right? So technically there's no way for anybody to use these doors, right? Because they would need this whole setup or whatever normally. Except Vanitas is probably the one character that could use these doors, right? Because that's his whole being, is negative emotions and darkness or whatever. So like he is his own negative emotion battery. So he would be able to power these doors without any the scream or laughter batteries and this machine. So it is possible for him to use it. He's the only character that could use it. Theory number 5. Continuing on with Vanitas, Vanitas is an ancient foreteller, a secret ancient foreteller. So, if you didn't know, the name Vanitas essentially translates to vanity or pride, which fits perfectly with the missing sins of the other foreteller names, right? So you have like Acedia for Aced, and so on and so forth, and all of them meaning, they're all named based after the 7 sins. Just the only one we're missing is pride. And Vanitas' name translates to pride. Again, I'll refer you to my Vanitas video again, if that is a character that interests you, because I do talk a little bit more about this character in particular and where I think he's going late game, because I think he's actually probably my most important character going forward. I think that's what's going to happen. I'm talking some like, some like, oh, it's Obito's the main villain. No, it's Madara. No, it's not Madara. It's Zetsu is our main villain or whatever. Like something like that, I think is going on. Just hopefully there's no Kaguya in this series. So to kind of look at the box, again, you probably already know, but on the top of the box it says X Super. Which, people are saying that it comes from the Latin word superbia, which is the other sin for pride. And that's where the name connection comes in. And even, the box is black and red and Vanitas is black and red, you know what I mean? So there's definitely a lot of connections, I feel like, to Vanitas and the box. So it might be totally possible that the Master of Masters knows about Vanitas. So it might be totally possible that this box or trunk or whatever you want to call it is not the Master of Masters, but specifically belongs to Vanitas or whomever Vanitas really is, because like Vanitas isn't even his real name. That was the name that Xehanort had given him. So I personally think that his name could end up being Elpis, but that's like another story for another day, because Elpis just means is what is inside of Pandora's box in that story is Elpis, or in other words, hope. But like I said, that's something else for another time. And if we even think about it, the Master never implies that this box is actually his. Because the reason why I say that is because it's not his medium, or it's not referred to as one of his mediums. His medium is the no-name Keyblade, or specifically the eye in the no-name Keyblade. So I can totally see a world where there isn't 6 foretellers, but 7, because, that's Nomura's magic number is either 7 or 13. And I don't know, maybe just something happened where the trader, took Vanitas out of the equation, and I somehow he became a dark entity, or I don't know. And maybe the Masters had to use the power of waking to kind of change some things around, which is why he ends up having to dim, fade, disappear, whatever. Maybe even what happened to Vanitas is what happened, something similar to like what Yazora's kind of going through. I don't know. I just especially question Vanitas's character and express that he is somebody who's very mysterious and important to the future, just because like he's got this, he seems to want to really separate himself from the other darkness, right? In his conversations in Dark Road with Xehanort, he tries to, sorry if you hear that banging outside, he really tries to separate himself from the other darknesses in their conversation. And then even with his death scene in Kingdom Hearts 3, he seems really disappointed by being darkness when he's having that, when he says like what I am is darkness to Sora. If you just kind of pay attention to his mannerisms, he just seems kind of like down and out about that idea. So that's kind of it for, you know, Vanitas being a ancient foreteller. It's really based off the naming connection, and then also the fact that the colors of the box is the same as Vanitas, and also, like I said, it's the Keyblade is, no name is the Master of Masters medium, so that leads me to believe that the box is not actually, you know, his personally. Theory number 6. Naminé gets her hair color from Luxord. I know I'm not the only one who's bothered by the fact that Naminé has like this really platinum blonde hair. And we know that your nobody's supposed to look like you're somebody. The only person that this doesn't apply to is just Naminé and Roxas, and we have an understanding of why Roxas looks that way, and he's an exact image of his true somebody, which is like Ven. And we never got an explanation for the case of Naminé, so I definitely believe that there is a connection somewhere in maybe Kairi's lineage, or maybe she has somebody inside of her heart, or maybe Sora has another person inside of his heart that has like this platinum blonde hair, and we just haven't learned about it yet. But I was kind of looking into characters that maybe could have this sort of connection with like the hair color. And the only ones that were like, there was Evan, which no, like I don't think so. I can't think of anything interesting as to like why Evan and her would have some sort of connection. And plus they were both on Hollow Bastion or Radiant Garden together, so figured we'd get some sort of interaction between them. Then there's Ansem the Wise, but that would be cool, but same issue of he was also in Radiant Garden, so I think there would have been some sort of connection to like, or there just would have been some sort of scene between the two of them, or like where it would seem like we would have more evidence of that. And to me, it actually, Luxord makes a lot of sense. Like he's, I think out of all the characters that we know, that if had some sort of connection to Kairi, which would explain the reason of Naminé's hair color, he just makes the most sense. It's still a mystery what Kairi's past is. It's still a mystery to us. So all we know is that as like a little girl, like I don't know if she was like 4 or 5, was in Radiant Garden. Anything before that, she doesn't know or remember. And we know that Luxord is from Quadratum, right? He's the driver that's driving Yozora around. Even though it's not confirmed, it more or less is confirmed. I mean, it's the same voice actor. The driver in that epilogue scene is his voice actor, and you look in the mirror and it's just like of the driver mirror, and it looks like it's Luxord. So maybe Kairi comes from Quadratum. I think that'd be pretty cool. Maybe she's some sort of like princess there or some sort of royalty there, and that's why she qualifies as like a princess of heart, and why she has all these crazy abilities and powers. Like even Naminé, it's not even explained why Naminé can do crazy things with memories and call upon um, lingering will and call upon people's hearts. Like Naminé is like a busted broken character in this series. Like Naminé, even without being a Keyblade wielder, she's like, I think at least in the conversation of top 3 strongest characters in this series. And I think maybe there's some sort of connection between Luke's sword and Kyrie. I don't know if it's like a, it doesn't even necessarily have to be like brother sister relationship or like mother father relationship or something like that, even though, or mother father daughter father situation or anything like that. It could even just be like he was her guardian, her mentor, because we also have to explain why is Luke's sword or Luke's sword or whatever you want to say it, however you want to say it, why is he in Sora's realm, right? He's another person that, he's actually our only person that we have confirmed that comes from Quadratum, and we have no idea how that happened, right? We know why Sora's in Quadratum, but we don't know why he's here in Sora's realm. What if he was like the facilitator or like just the guardian for Kyrie coming into Sora's realm? Or I'll call it the Disney realm. I think it's just easier if I say that, or maybe if I say reality realm, I hope you guys, get what I'm referring to. Right. But I think like that it could be some sort of connection like that. Like he was just the guardian for her ending up in the Disney realm. And that's why Naminé's hair is the way that it is. It's her secret connection that both of these guys, both her and Luke Sword, have no memory of. Hell, I even think it's possible this dude could be like, Zora. I don't fucking know. This one, you guys may think this one's a bit of a stretch, but I don't know. I feel like this one is, I think this one's a pretty good one. Theory number 7. Almost at the end. No way. I believe that this Riku, this is the Riku from San Francisco in Kingdom Hearts 3, is somehow also an ancient darkness from the one that specifically helps Maleficent and Union Cross escape back into the future. So this one I think is like has a lot of merit behind it. You might not think so, but this is something I feel like I'm almost like 10 toes in on. So the conversation that the Replica Riku has with or Dark Riku if you prefer, that has the conversation that he has with Maleficent in San Francisco, or it starts off with, I'll even kind of hide myself for a little bit here. Overstep in the darkness will consume you. And it's very kind of ominous or ominous. Like even Maleficent has like this intrigued kind of attitude about her during this scene. And Eva replies, "What an interesting thing to say, and interesting indeed." She says that she'll do as she pleases, as should he. And the Riku ends up smiling, right? And it's I don't know, just like the way the conversation is held, it's very, I don't know, it just feels like there's a lot of double speech happening, and there's like a lot more going on than what meets the eye. So Pete even asks, like, is this a friend of yours? And she even has like this almost like questioning when she says yes, that this is. And she couldn't tell you from when. And I think that's super important. We know it's important because when is in quotations, right? I think that's what's important in this conversation. And overall, this scene doesn't do anything for the series, right? When we just have like this, usually when Maleficent and Pete are in a scene in Kingdom Hearts 3, it's usually revolved around the box, and we're getting kind of a little bit more clues about the box or something along those lines. And then in here we see them never mention the box or talk about it. It's just this scene with this Riku, and it doesn't really make sense as to why to have this scene in the game. Like, we could take the scene out and absolutely nothing changes. We don't get anything out of the scene. The scene has zero value to it. Even if you think of it as this is like Riku, remembering the past with, with her when he stabs darkness, through her at the end of Kingdom Hearts 1. It's still almost like valueless. But and then there's the attention placed onto Wen and her whole mannerisms and facial expressions throughout this scene. Definitely more going on in this scene than I think we originally thought. So as far as like the Wen, right? Look at it. This is just her super intrigued by what he's saying. Is very interesting. And I think Pete represents, let me go back to Pete real quick. I think Pete represents like us in a way, like doesn't really know what's going on, asking like, friend of yours, just confused. I think Pete is a representation of us, the players in this scene. So when this darkness helps out Maleficent in Union Cross, she asks him who he is, and he says, think of me as an old friend, right? But how would they be old friends? You know what I mean? Like, I get it that, because he's from the past or whatever. So like they will be friends in the future or whatever. So it actually kind of does make sense. But yeah, so he refers to himself as an old friend, and then she refers to him as old friend. And she says, why would this old friend want so badly to see me back in my own time? So I think that darkness is somehow inside that Riku that we see in Kingdom Hearts 3. Just because the whole friend of yours and the couldn't tell you from when, though. So like I think that's what's going on here. And this I'm just showing that, the further connection between Darkness and Maleficent. The Darkness says that she needs to be Darkness's waypoint. So that's why I think it's important that we got that scene, so that to reiterate that like there's still that connection between Darkness and Maleficent that's going to happen in the future. So I added this because to kind of reinforce that I believe this darkness is the same, is inside of that Replica Riku in Kingdom Hearts 3, is because of kind of this phrasing here. I wouldn't waste my time snooping around if I were you. When that Riku in that Kingdom Hearts 3 scene in San Francisco, the first thing he says, asks Maleficent, he says, what are you doing snooping around? Right. And that's just like a further connection to this scene that I think is happening, So yes, the whole, what are you doing snooping around? And on top of that, the old friend, and then the from when. I think these are all connections to this specific darkness. All right, so we're almost at the finish line. We're quite a bit past the halfway point. I wanted to take a second before I continue to give a little PSA announcement, all right, before I move on. I want you guys to remember that these are all theories. I'm not claiming that any of these hold any water. I simply make these because it's for my own enjoyment, and as well as to have these great discussions with you guys in the comment section. I have to put this out there because some people tend to get like really upset when it comes to, or uptight when it comes to theory videos, not necessarily even just mine or just Kingdom Hearts in general, but any theories from like any fandom. Like I see it in the One Piece series, I see it in the A Song of Ice and Fire theories, etc., etc. And I'm still a small channel, so I don't really see it very often. I still do see it. It maybe happens like 0.01% of the time. But so yeah, I just wanted to kind of like address that 0.012%. The rest of you guys are fucking awesome. I love you guys. But just to address that, those few that these are only videos for our own enjoyment, just to have fun. That's all it is. Uh, and if somebody says something wrong, because I tend to say things, I tend to misspeak, or say things wrong, or just be misinformed on certain things. Like I don't know every single uh, interview that Nomura's ever done, so like I don't just know that offhand. Um, so just have a little grace when like there's if somebody makes a theory that you disagree with, that's fine. Or even get something wrong and you want to point that out to them, you can do that. Just have a little grace when you do it. Because at the end of the day, you don't know the person behind the screen. You don't know, who they are, what they're going through, what they've been through. Right. So I'll use myself as an example here. I'm not looking for any pity or anything like that. Um, but so the joke that I made at the beginning about like, being dropped on my head a ton, that's actually true. I've cracked my skull open 3 times and played a bunch of contact sports, used to parkour. I was even an independent wrestler for a couple of years. So like I've had my brain rattled quite a bit, so my memory's pretty shoddy, and chances of me having CTE are very high. So I only say it as like to reiterate, you don't know the person behind the screen, so just have a little grace when when your blood gets a little bit hot here, So because who knows, the person behind that screen might have like might have CTE. I don't know if I do or not. But it's possible. It's definitely highly possible with my life experiences. So then maybe that's why I speak or just forget something. But like I said, the majority of that was just to address a very small portion of people. The rest of you, I will say it again. You guys are fucking awesome, and I appreciate all the support that I've been getting, and just you guys just being fucking dope. So that's pretty much it. Just addressing just a small bit of people that, like I said, I'll say it again, the rest of you are fucking awesome and I love you guys. So moving on to theory number 8. The Lich is connected to a foreteller. There are 2 reasons why I say this. First off, young Xehanort explains that the Lich Heartless is just different. It exists to only usher hearts into the depths of darkness, which is like dope as hell. The Lich, I think, is super cool, but it's just interesting. It works like it's kind of like a Grim Reaper or Death. So it's interesting that it's designed with a purpose, right? Like it has some agency to it. And the last time we had a Heartless that had some agency to it was Ansem the Seeker of Darkness. So that makes me believe that there's something very special about the Lich Heartless, and that there might be more going on with it. And it's even interesting that like, the Lich is even in battle, like it's not worried about creating more Heartlesses. It's not worried about infecting worlds. Like I said, it just has that divine purpose to it. And even in battle, its attacks mostly consist of like magic that keeps you at bay. And also he creates those after images, or it creates those after images. And that it just really like leads me to believe that it doesn't even have a battle desire, all those battle abilities are just simply keeping people at bay or escaping, and so that way it can do its job in ferrying hearts into the abyss. So what leads me to, or leans me towards it having a connection to the foretellers, is that its design, right? So it wears a robe and it has a mask, and it it also has like the staff too. But the mask and the robe is something we know that's aesthetic to the ancient foretellers, but mostly it's these little dangly pieces, right, that we see hanging off of its chain. really reminds me of these dangly pieces that hang off the robes for the foretellers, right? So you see it's these little cones or whatever, and it has like the little colored cones as well. That's kind of why I think that there's a connection to one of the foretellers. It is like a pink slash red, so I don't know. Could have some sort of connection to Ava is what I'm leaning towards, kind of, or even like Vanitas again. You know, who knows? Maybe this has something to do with Ava not being a part of the final epilogue with when Luxu brings back all the ancient foretellers. So, do you guys see what I see? Do you see the connection here to the ancient foretellers? Let me know. So moving on though, theory number 9, Ava, I think, created the Star Shard. Right? So this is definitely another one that's just like very unique and weird, I think. But this one doesn't have a lot of merit to it. It's just more of like a feeling that I have that is going on. Let me take myself away for a second, so in case I don't know if there's any dialogue here that I'm going to go over. But so if we look at the design of the Star Shard, we see that it's a star, and then it has like this little thunderbolt tail coming out of it. So it really does look like a shooting star. And we do know that the stars are a symbol of like the ancient times, right? With the Lux symbol, as well as like the stars in the your Keyblade and Union Cross. But with the fact that it looks like a shooting star, I find it interesting because what do you do on a shooting star? You make a wish and hope that your dreams come true, right? So they're used for dreaming. And then we have, dream eaters, who we know are Union members who were Union members at the end of Union Cross after they all died. And I'm simply just showing here that when the Star Shard is used, it takes kind of like a path of a shooting star. I was just kind of reiterating that it definitely is reminiscent to an actual shooting star. So I think that it was designed maybe to help dandelions possibly leave the sleeping realm, because like I said earlier, we don't know what Ava was doing at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3, and as well as there's still like a lot of mystery behind, just like the Winnie the Pooh book, there's still a lot of mystery behind the Star Shard. We don't really know anything else about it, and something that I've gathered is Nomura seems to be pulling things from past games and using them for future plans, right? So an example would be, an obvious one is the lifeboat arcs. We saw that back in Kingdom Hearts 1. Even the Kingdom Hearts 1 opening monologue is now important. Like, is any of this real or not? We see like Yozora is now saying it. So again, we are just like, there's instances of Nomura pulling from the past, and I think that's important. Even the Princesses of Heart, they made a comeback in Kingdom Hearts 3. That whole concept made a comeback. I think that is something that he's setting up, like the new Princesses of Hearts, right? So we haven't had to deal with that since the first game. And maybe hopefully we're doing another story with Princesses of Heart. I really hope so, because the Keyblade of Heart, the one that Sora sacrifices himself with, is my favorite Keyblade, and I hope that's something that makes its return. That's all I'm saying. I wouldn't be mad at it. But so for the Star Shards case, we know that it's going to play a part in the future. We actually already know that in Kingdom Hearts 4, it's going to play a role, right? So I just want to also reiterate, make a point that we need to look at the Star Shard again, or pay attention to it, because it's going to happen in the future. And why do I know it's going to happen in the future is because they mention it in Union Cross, like right in the beginning. So this scene where Mickey, crash lands or with Donald, Goofy, Chip and Dale, they don't belong in Union Cross. So this is clearly them from the future, and they somehow end up in Union Cross. I think it's because Sora's the true dandelion, but it's besides the point. And he just mentions that the star shard. He mentions the Mickey mentions it here about the star shard. I don't know. He just brings it to attention, and I think that's like, okay, that's kind of important to know for the future. The star shard is going to be important again. And I just think that finally we're going to have some unanswered questions about the star shard coming up soon, hopefully. And we know it's definitely has something to do with their mode of transportation in the future, because as we see, Mickey's not even using the star cluster here for whatever reason, and or the Kingdom Key D. And I don't think that the gummy ship could bring them here, just cause like I don't think the gummy ship could time travel unless the star shard is a gummy piece, maybe, and that allows free travel, I guess I'll say, which goes in line with my thinking of maybe the star shard was created to travel freely throughout dreams, is what I think is maybe its main purpose. Like I said, to save the dandelions trapped in the sleeping realm specifically. I think that's Ava's mission. So I don't have the mystery of this item actually figured out yet, but it's irrefutable that the star shard will become relevant to the plot coming up real soon. So I just wanted to kind of throw my 2 cents in on what makes the star shard special and how it could possibly be utilized in the future. I also find it interesting that maybe it's possible, when I say like it's maybe used to help dandelions, is that Mickey ends up finding Ven because of the star shard, and he doesn't know why he ended up there, and even Ven uses it too. So I think he's the only other character to use it. So it's just like another little small connection to the dandelions. So that's pretty much it for that one as far as the star shard goes. And for theory number 10, I'm finally officially going to say what I believe is inside the box. Now, people, please, I only ask you to hear me out, right? And remember one thing, that nobody knows. Nobody has a single idea of what's inside the box. No real clue. So anything goes. Yeah, we know just as much as what the One Piece is as what the hell's in the box. Maybe the One Piece is in the box. Who freaking knows? No matter what your guess is, it's probably just as wrong as the next person's. Right? Just my is probably just as wrong as the next person's as well. And that's all I want you to keep in mind. So before I've talked a little bit about this was a theory that I had going on for like a while in my head. I just never officially threw my hat in on what I thought it was or what was inside the box. But before I can tell you what I believe is in the box, I have to explain that I don't think that it's just a box. So kind of like a 2-part theory, I guess. I don't think that it's just a box. I believe that it is a suitcase specifically. Now, I have my reasons for this, and so since I'm claiming that it is a suitcase, what I am saying is what I believe is inside are clothing and items, personal items and clothing that you would find in a suitcase. So what makes me think this? So when you watch back cover, every time we get the Master's Conversations with the foretellers, we're greeted first by, it'll say like Case of Luke Shoe or Case of Ava or Case of Luke Shoe again. Why he has 2? I don't know. So I actually messed around with like a little bit of, I thought maybe these were 2 separate scenes, and I was like trying to find evidence of it because like the first scene, right? So when it's this one, it's the box is underneath the desk for the Master of Masters, but this one, it's off to the side, not under the desk. And I was like thinking maybe some sort of time shenanigans were happening or whatever, but that was way too much for my brain, and I think I will never touch that ever again. But you're free to investigate that if you want. So none of that was important to this, but I just had to, I guess, point that out, that the fact that the Luxu thing happened twice. And I apologize if you hear my neighbor messing with their alarm. Like, I don't know what the hell's going on out there. But so I think it's really weird when it says like case of blank, right? It doesn't like it just like doesn't English language. I feel like it just doesn't make sense. You wouldn't say it this way. So what I think is happening is I think case is a double entendre. So double entendre just simply is something that can have two different meanings, all right? So the obvious one of case is in this instance is case file. So we are seeing the case file of Luxu, or you're seeing the case file of Ava, case file of Ira, etc. And case also doubles as suitcase, is what I think is why they're using the word case, right? Because to me, it doesn't make sense to say it like this. It just looks and sounds not very, intelligent. I don't know. It doesn't sound correct. It would make more sense if it was like story of Luxu or role of Ava, right? Not case. It just seems so weird to use case. So I think it's intentionally being used as like a way to be a double entendre for suitcase, right? So I think each foreteller was given a case with their name on top, right? So it's not their actual real name, but like it'll say like Acedia, right? Just like how the box that we know says X Super, theirs would say Acedia, whatever, yada yada. And inside that case was their robes, their masks, and then their keyblades with, and each of their keyblades have eyes in it, or whatever, right? Nor do I don't think that all of them are the Master of Master's eye either, because like I think that they're maybe whomever's clothes they're wearing. I believe that's the eye in their specific keyblades, and I'm just showing this as to reiterate that Ava, Luxu, Ira, these are not their names. We see that when Chirithy is narrating the beginning of Union Cross, the one who made me bestowed names on his 6 apprentices and passed down the book of prophecies. Bestowed names on 6 of his apprentices. So those aren't their real names. I think they're maybe they take on those names because that's the mask they bear, that's the clothings they wear, that's the keyblade they're using of the person who was Acedia, who was Superbia, etc. And I don't think that it's a far stretch to say like, clothing in general, because clothing in this series actually does hold a lot of power. We do have a lot of examples of it. It's Kingdom Hearts 2, right? Sora's outfit gives him the power of drive forms. Kingdom Hearts 3 gave him, Keyblade transformations, and then there's the black cloak, and then armor helps ward against darkness. The X on your clothes can be a tracking device. Maybe even the white cloak can help protect you from light or even hide from death like it does in Harry Potter. I don't freaking know. Clothes just have power in this series. So I think more specifically, when the foretellers are given their names, they're given their masks, they're given their robes, they're given their keyblades, they are granted maybe power, or also bestowed power from the Master of Masters time period of a certain person or being or entity. And I think that the eyes on each of their keyblades is the eyes of the person that they're wearing. That's probably how they get their power or whatnot. Maybe that's even like a step further to the of the Master of Masters plan, where he might be a little villainous in the sense that it might not just be that each character is supposed to be a carrier of a dark entity. Maybe it's also supposed to be a light entity that they are going to be tied down to. Like, I don't know. That'd be kind of interesting, I think, because then that's a way of where the Master Masters can be a champion of light but still be a villain at the same time. And it's not like suitcases didn't exist already in the Kingdom Hearts series. We have a couple different occurrences of them. Special vestments, special vestments of Shield Kyrie Lee from Darkness, right? So special powers inside the clothes. Sora gets one too. So they even turned these suitcases into merchandise too. So I don't know. Maybe Nomura just likes suitcases as much as he likes belts and zippers, you know? Maybe I have to point out too that suitcases, much like keychains, are usually very symbolic to travel, you know, and memories. So the, there could be some, you know, some symbolic purpose to uh of a suitcase, because it is part travel, is part of the themes of this series. So this part may seem a little bit yappy to you, but and you know, it is what it is. But I'd like to try to connect this also back into my Vanitas theory from earlier as well, because like I said, I think the box belongs to Vanitas. I think the box is specific to Vanitas. So I try to sort of connect this heart on the side or whatever, maybe to his like chest or something like that. I don't really got much for that. I don't think that there would be anything obvious to kind of give it away. So that's a whole lot of nothing. But I do want to look at his keyblade for a minute, because specifically, you know how he's got like the chains on the center of the keyblades, those form an X, right? And then the top of the box is X super, right? And then the keychain is a broken gear and it forms an S. So I think that S is supposed to not symbolize Sora. I guess it could, but I think it's supposed to symbolize Superbia, right? That's what I think the keychain is representative of. I could go even more insane and say like, oh, the handle, you know, forms a U, and then this part forms an E, and then this part is an R and a P or whatever, and then it spells out super. And that's too much, and I'm not going to do that. That's even crazy for me. But I think the whole X on the with the chain and the on the keychain, the S being there, I think that might hold some weight to it. I also want to compare this keyblade to the no name keyblade, because there are a bit of similarities to these. So not just the gears, because if you see like the no name has gears here, it deals with time. Time has gears in it. Not that important. We also see obviously the eye there, but if you look at the design of, I need to pull this real quick closer to me, but if we look at the design of the top, right? So you got this little piece here, and then there's a little piece that comes out, and then a bigger piece that would spikes out. And that's very similar to the design of the top of Void Gear. So that they're very closely, like, it looks like they used that version of no name. They took the base skeleton design of this keyblade in order to make this keyblade. And I'd also like to point out too that, you know, where you see the clocks on each keyblade, it's where like the eye would be in Void Gear, because there still is two eyes in Void Gear, and they just so happen to line up perfectly with where like the clocks are here. There's also maybe even, like I said, this is very yappy. We'll get through it though. There's also, you know, like the gears, and the keychain on this no name is an hourglass, right? So hourglass obviously represents time, and I think gears are also supposed to be representing time as well. So there is a further connection there. So keeping the aesthetic of Void Gear in mind, I want to bring your attention over to the clock tower in Daybreak Town. Shares some similarities too, right? So we got the gear on the bottom, the gear on the top, the X that forms right above that, right in that gear. It's, you know, it forms an X, the time. Specifically that sigil, and I think that's done intentionally. We even have like an incomplete gear here that goes around that's very similar to the void gear, as well as like I even think that like the top where that circle is similar to the top of the void gear keyblade. I don't know. It's very abstract, I think, but I think that there is some sort of connection there, which is basically I'm trying to form a connection between Vanitas to ancient past. That's what I'm trying to do. So even when we were first introduced to the box, we could see gears in the background. That's all I'm pointing out here. Is just to keep in mind that the gears have to, I feel like, have like this ancient type symbolism to it, and as well as time. And then so I'm gonna make myself disappear again for a little bit, because I want to show you also the chess game that Xehanort and Ericus were playing at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3. Right, so this is supposed to be the new story going forward. And what I wanted to point out is there is a mysterious chess piece. And if you've seen Prodigy X's video on this, theory video on this chessboard game, it's not the piece that he's talking about, right? So he's talking about, let me appear again. He's talking about the chess piece in this row all the way at the end. I'm just going to do this. He's talking about this piece, right? Says that we don't know what that piece is, but we actually do. It's really I don't know, it messes with your perspective. That piece is 100% Ava's piece, right? So all of these pieces are the 6 apprentices, and there's one mysterious piece. I think that it's specifically this is the mysterious piece, not that Ava piece. What's so weird about the Ava piece, right? It looks smooth from this angle, right? But there's a reason for that. The reason why it looks smooth is because that piece is faced the opposite direction of all the other pieces, which I think is symbolic to Ava is turning her back on the other foretellers, right? So we can see that, you can see from this angle that it's clearly the fox mask, but look at the way when Ericus puts it down, look at the position. It's facing towards the back of the board, or where Xehanort's sitting. Now look at when he puts Envy's piece down. Envy's piece is facing himself. So if we go back to the first picture of the board, that explains why that piece appears as rounded, because we're seeing the back of that specific chess piece, because it's facing Xehanort. So, let me hide myself again. Nomura has also talked about this in an interview as well, just to kind of go over it. In the final part of the epilogue, 7 black pieces are brought out to use as a new game. Do 6 of those represent the 6 apprentices of the Master of Masters? Nomura answers plainly, yes. So we can confirm that that piece isn't a mysterious piece. That piece is 100% clearly Ava. Then the interviewer continues, who is the remaining one? Nomura says, it's someone you may be able to guess, but it's a secret. And then proceeds on, the interviewer asks, so is the Sora the white piece? And he says, well, maybe either way. The epilogue is hinting at what's to come after the Dark Seeker saga. He doesn't, I think the final piece, he doesn't really say who he doesn't give he says that we could guess, but it's still a secret. The obvious answer is that it's the Master of Masters. I feel like maybe that's just too easy to say it's the Master of Masters. Like, I definitely think there's evidence that it is probably the Master of Masters, but I'm not going to hold out doubt that it could also be Yozora. All right. Cause we know that there's kind of some sort of beef. I don't know, or not really beef, like who knows? The Yozora attacks Sora, so I wouldn't hold it past that it's not, he says we may be able to guess. So my guess is that it's going to be Vanitas. Maybe even Vanitas is connected to the Master of Masters even more deeply. Like maybe he is in some way also the Master of Masters. I don't know. So back to the chessboard, we got here this chess piece above my head is the specific chess piece in question, because everything else we can confirm. Ava's all the way out of frame currently right now. They specifically, I think, don't show her because they don't want you to. They don't want to make it too obvious that she's faced the other direction, symbolizing her, going a different direction than the other foretellers. But 100% that is Ava. So that piece with the heart, and we can see it has one kind of like devil wing and one angel wing, and whatever the little star piece bottom. That symbol does appear elsewhere, which is why it could be the Master of Masters specifically, right? So if we look at the Book of Prophecies, it's on one of the inside pages. It's also on the cover, as well as if you watch back cover, you will also see the same symbol on the Book of Prophecies that like Envy and stuff like everybody has. So this definitely could be a symbol for the Master of Masters, but my thinking was that, hey, it could also be Vanitas, right? Because this is Vanitas's D-Link with Ven. I couldn't really get a better picture of this, but it does share some similarities to that symbol there. In my opinion, though. Also, some notable things to kind of point out is that we see that the little T formation that's like Roxas's necklace. Is also shares, similar to the bottom of this symbol, as well as you have the two stars, which might be interesting. That's definitely a symbol for the Union Cross members, because specifically their star has like those arrows, like those black arrows that you see in those stars in that corner. They also have, if you just look at any of these, you see the star and it has the arrows within those stars. Also, the symbol appears again in the center of that stained glass image. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm just trying to find like different things that kind of connect Vanitas to the ancient time period. I feel like there's some things there, nothing really too obvious, but also on the course of this symbol, maybe possibly representing Vanitas, this symbol does have, like I said, it has the demon wing and the angel wing. So there's some sort of duality with this symbol in particular, and that kind of fits Vanitas's character, right? It's this whole relationship with Ven, you know what I mean? So maybe it's part of his relationship with the Master of Masters, right? So Master of Masters could be the wing, while the angel wing, while the demon wing is representative of Vanitas. Also, I wanted to point out too, they use this symbol keeps popping up somewhere. It's what is it called? Fleur de Lis. I'm probably butchering it, like Fleur de. It's the Saints logo, right? Fleur de Lis. It's the lily flower, right? And this symbol actually pops up a lot throughout this series, and I've been trying to make some sort of connection there, but I can't figure anything out. I just thought I'd point it out to you guys. Maybe one of you guys are interested in exploring like all the different times and ways that they use that specific symbol, because it shows up more than you'd think. Also, another one for you guys, or I'm not going to dive into it or anything because I haven't come up with anything, is I see Lily of the Valley being used a lot, and I've never been able to make some sort of connection. So it might be also something, if you guys are interested, want to explore around, whatever. Look at every time Lily of the Valley is used, right? It's the Master of Masters table lamp. He's the only lamp, and that's the only lamp that is like that in that movie. I even think Sora's table lamp in the first Kingdom Hearts game, like back when he's in his room, I think his table lamp is shaped the same way. It's also in Yensid's tower. It's framed. And then Marluxia has a weapon called Dainty Bellflower, which is just another name for Lily of the Valley. And sorry that's super off tangent, but if you guys wanted to explore around into something like that, you guys can feel free. I haven't been able to figure anything out about it. I just thought it was a good time to point that out. This symbol is also seen in Master Yen Sid's The Mysterious Tower. Yeah, on the chalkboard, we see that symbol pop up again. I just wanted to show that. I'm showing this. This is the Master of Masters, desk. I only wanted to show this because I thought the symbol would have appeared again here. It's kind of somewhat similar, but we see two kind of very demonic shaped wings. But the symbol has one angel wing to it, so that's why I think something weird going on. Like that's why maybe part of that symbol represents the Master of Masters. Maybe this demonic wing. I don't know. I'm losing my mind, and this is a long video. There's the Lily of the Valley flower I was talking about. But yeah, so that's why I wanted to show off this chair here. And last thing, kind of like about Vanitas and his connection to the box, is I want to talk about his name again. So Nomura actually named him Vanitas, not because of he wanted his name to represent pride or vanity, but he wanted a name that meant emptiness. And then when he found that Latin word Vanitas, it looked very similar to Ventus, so it just kind of worked out and fit perfectly for him. And I find that interesting that he wanted his name to be emptiness, or to mean emptiness. I thought that was very like poetic, and it was interesting because he put a lot of emphasis on like it was very important that his name meant this. It is fitting of his character because of like all the negative emotions that he represents. So it just so happens that his name not only means emptiness and looks like Vanitas or Ventus, but also, means vanity and pride. So I just think he just ended up having like one of the most perfect names. The reason why I think emptiness is important is because maybe the master's goal is to fill Vanitas, or maybe it's just in general, the goal with Vanitas is to fill him. Pause. Is just to, I don't know, so he's not, because like I said earlier, when you watch him in his death scene in Kingdom Hearts 3, it really does feel like he's disappointed by his life, and I don't know, you can see the emptiness in him in his death scene, and I think maybe that's where we're going with this character. We must fulfill Vanitas with Elpis or hope, and maybe whatever clothes and mask and keyblade that's inside the suitcase or the box, the trunk, will help Vanitas become whole again. But that's it for my thoughts on what I believe is in the box. That is officially my hat in the race, or my horse in the race, whatever the saying is. So you definitely guys got to let me know what you think about that. All right, bonus one. I know it was only supposed to be 10. No, it's kind of 11 here. I've pointed this out before, but like I said earlier, I don't have a big channel, so there's a chance that a lot of you have not seen this when I pointed this out. What I want you to notice is this is the epilogue, right, to Kingdom Hearts 3, where Luxu brings back all the old ancient foretellers. And I want you to avert your attention to Envy and notice how Envy is not wearing her colors. She's wearing Ava's colors in this epilogue scene. And I don't think I've ever seen I don't think I've seen anybody ever point this out before. Other people in my channel kind of seem to think that, are very much leaning towards that. It's a problem with the in-game engine that her colors came out that way. For me, that doesn't sit very well. I don't know, because with such an important scene, I would think that like this would be an easy fix, right? I don't know, but that's just my personal feelings. So I think that maybe there is more going on with the fact that Envy is in more Ava style clothes. I toyed with the idea that it's possible maybe, Ava left, because we don't know what happened after the end of the Keyblade War, right, in Union Cross. So it could be that like maybe just Ava left the life of um ancient foreteller like behind, like maybe, so like she took off the mask, took off the robes, got, no longer using that keyblade or something like that, and just really like kind of left the lifestyle behind, like type shit. And maybe Envy just wears the robes as like a sign of like remembrance or respect towards her friend Ava, which is like one of the things that I kind of messed around with as an idea. But you guys definitely should let me know if you guys have ever noticed that before, and what you think personally is going on there. But that is officially everything, and I hope that you found it entertaining. I hope I offered you some unique perspectives on some of these things, and feel free to give your input and in the comment sections, and like the video if you like the video if you'd like to see another 10 of these theories. I might like another 10 new unique theories that I come up with. I might have a couple in the chamber left. I think I can get to 10, so if you like, the more you like, the more I know that, okay, maybe you guys were interested in this and you like this style, and I'll do it again like 100%. I also invite you to subscribe to the channel if you want to stay up to date with whatever Kingdom Hearts content that I do. Like I do plan eventually, whenever Missing Link finally comes out, to really hammer in Missing Link content. And feel free to check out my previous videos that I shouted out. I've got plenty of Kingdom Hearts series videos on my channel that'll keep you entertained. Um, and I just appreciate you clicking on this video. I love you guys so much. Have a great day. Peace.